Welcome back to Aurora IS channel. This is a lecture series on ethics, integrity, aptitude, GS paper 4 syllabus of UPSC main syllabus. So the portion of chapter unit 7 in fact is probity in governance. We start with the concept of public service, philosophical basis of governance and probity in this session. So the probity, before going into what kind of definitions and all that, basically just let's understand probity. Probity is another form of integrity only. So difference between probity, integrity and honesty. Integrity and honesty, which we have already dealt through the value systems, where we have seen the difference, what is the actual difference between honesty and integrity. So I would request, if you are not following this series, please follow from the beginning and you can see the value, which is the unit 1 part 2 portion, the value, human value systems. I have mentioned the difference very well about the difference in the honesty and integrity. So now here with that kind of a knowledge and understanding, here it becomes easier for us to differentiate between probity and integrity. So what is probity is nothing but, first of all, let's understand integrity. Integrity, we know that from the personal point of view, it remains very rock solid for your principles. You will not yield to any other external pressure, no matter whatever the pressure would be from the external factors. You will be more related to your good conduct of your personal life. You will yourself witness when it comes to integrity, you will be very strong in that person. Whenever it is testing you, you will be integrity, you will show that integrity. Whereas probity is something from a professional point of view. It is being non-corrupt, fair, upright and all this. It is more perceived by people who deal with you. It is not the in person which is internal with you, but the kind of work or service delivery you do to the people, that is how the probity is defining. So this is trustworthiness, integrity in a form, in openness and honesty while delivering the services to the public. Here the example of, I have to quote an example, being a civil engineer myself, so I have to even tell you that M. Vishwesvaraya ji, the architect of many of the different forms of dams or the civil engineering structures in the pre and post independence era also, even the structure stands still and tall to all the kind of earthquake or the other natural forces. Even today, M. Vishwesvaraya ji has used a separate candle during those times when electricity was not a boon for everybody. So he was doing his household works in using one candle, another candle for the personal use, for the professional use. That shows the integrity of the person, that no matter what it is, even if it is doing, he gets the additional funds for using the candle or any kind of an allowances also, but still he is using his personal candles from his own pocket money, not with the public funds. So that is what integrity is of a person. Whereas the same example, if you are treating with some civil servant, this practice is becoming a probity in public life. So this is the basic difference. The probity is more about the official, and the people who you deal with will assess the personality wise that there is probity in governance in you as a person. But integrity as an inherent person, as a personal point of view, integrity is an honesty at a personal level. Okay, so this is the basic difference. For any other queries, you can just comment below so that I can explain it to you in case you don't understand it properly. And let's begin the series that probity is nothing but integrity, trustworthiness and openness and honesty. We adopt such kind of a practices in the new public administration that will enhance and promote the public service values as well as the interest of the public at a large. You will be transparent and accountable to the people for making decisions that are very high in the range of professionalism and commitment to the level of the highest ideals of your professional life. And then you have this risk management approach ensuring the integrity, where the procedures and systems, you will focus on them rather than the outcome based approach. And it goes beyond being dishonest, because it is determined that personal and societal values play a very important role. What kind of public service values are we talking about? What is a public service value? It is nothing but in a work culture, there are some service values that are very instrumental to guide and form a kind of an ethical behavior or an action. how is it done? A democratic framework is established for a government policy implementation. Like a government policy, let's suppose for the girl child education. So why it is done? Because there is a democratic framework where the women in the DPSPs, as well as the fundamental rights and various others and other constitutional provisions also tries to emancipate the women through various other mechanisms. So this is what this public service value is all about. It is adherence to the high value public service values that can generate public trust and confidence. And then Indian value system teaches a spirit of service and dedication, which is very inherent in our value system. That is where the public service value comes in. You have to have the service quality, services first, and the dedication kind of an approach. Then the public spirit is nothing but it will rescue a person from being very tiny of his individuality. Like it will rescue him, because when you have this public spirit, you cannot get influenced by the other people, and you will always work towards a greater cause no matter what the outcomes are. So you will be welcomed and accepted by the other people at a larger extent. The Bhagavad Gita also emphasizes this point by saying that I may be an ordinary person, but when I am part of great administration, I cease to be ordinary. I must rise to the occasion. That it depends upon the happiness and welfare of millions of Indian people. And the same thing has been emphasized by the Kautilya also. The kings and his subjects are the greatest ideals of the governance system. So probity is a very important principle in the governance. So probity is nothing but integrity in a professional level. Just keep that in mind. And why do we need? First of all, why do we need probity? What is the essence of being trustworthiness or integrity, having a dedication towards your job and all? Why? Because you want to eliminate the corruption, kind of elements that will deteriorate your performance of working towards a public service delivery. And you have to effective implementation of all the rules, regulations in every sphere of the public life to be ensured is only through probity. And for effective implementation of law is aspect of the discipline, and for government workers especially, you have to simply avoid any kind of a dishonest conduct. That is a main principle of being probity in governance. And then you have to apply the values like the transparency, accountability, are nothing but a form of probity in governance. You have to be passing on the information in a transparent format. That is why RTI has been given its place. And then the essential obligations. Obligations are nothing but you have to follow the rule of the land. You have to use judiciously all the resources. Diversion of the fund should be avoided. You have to use the resources according to the demands of the people. Act ethical by having the values and principles reflecting upon you into your works, like the actions you behave on provisioning of services to the people, by the code of ethics or code of conduct. And there is probity of governance, how you ensure it, by as a vital requirement. Why you need it as a civil servant? Because effective system of governance and for socio-economic development of the people. It will also make corruption to die out, and it will adopt an ethical and moral values for a higher human rights aspects and compassion towards of the downtrodden people in the society. This is why these are the basic essential obligations of a civil servant. Next, coming to the principles of probity, there are 4 basic principles. Like you have to be accountable to the people. You have an obligation to explain why you are behaving in such a kind of towards your duty or devotion to your duty or commitment towards some project. You have to be transparent by having confidence, minimizing the fraud and corruption. Then you should have the confidentiality you have to maintain while giving out the project details or tenders, calling out the commercial interest purposes in a very unbiased manner. Have to resolve the conflict of interest. You have to have the public interest at a greater place rather than your self and personal gain. Next, we have the obstacles to the ethical accountability. There are various other obstacles. You want to be gaining this probity in governance. You want to ensure this probity in governance, but there are some obstacles that come into role in between. One is that you need to have the special expertise and information in these areas to ensure that the laws, regulations are abided by, and the citizens and RTI will also not go into a failure, but it has already gone into the failure. So when these mechanisms are failing, where is the trust of the people in you that you are adhering to the probity in governance? So that is a obstacle. Then full-time status, CAG only audits and not controls. So you cannot get information from the public administration. It can only audit whatever information is provided in the document, like how the funds have been utilized for a particular scheme, which is already failing the purpose of what probity in governance is all about. There is a massive expansion in the bureaucracy, like the public works department or the IT sector has been expanding its responsibilities. So keeping eye on every other expertise in the sector wise, it becomes very hectic. Then there is a lack of coordination also. We have seen the recent tussle, like who will be heading the CBC, who will be appointing the CBI director, all these kinds of tussles. Then the kind of powers the Lok Adalat possess, and not giving the right kind of powers to it so as to reduce the corruption or reduce the kind of not attaining the probity in governance is not enhanced, because there is lack of coordination with the anti-corruption bodies as well as the other constitutional and non-constitutional bodies in the country. As well as there is excessive security, like Article 311 protects the civil servants from any kind of an unethical behavior. This is a lacuna in the basic in ensuring the ethical accountability. Then what needs to be done? We have studied a lot about what are the obstacles in ensuring the probity in governance through accountability and transparency. What needs to be done? Let's see that. You have to infuse the ethics in politics also into the politics through the training, because these are the influential factors based on which these corruption and kinds of nepotism, favoritism takes places. And then the faith and determination of pursuit to excellence in service of the professional activities. Faith and determination. What kind of faith and determination can you incorporate in a public servant? That is what the determination is through the train. One, it is that it is innately built through your kind of socialization, upbringing, and the kind of degrees or kind of education you have been brought up. And next is the training, bring up the faith so that you will strive for the excellence. Then you have a relationship between the citizen and the personal. You have impartiality, neutrality, like you see everybody equal. You don't favor one based at the cost of the other. You have good governance and probity with the act and manner of managing public affairs by linking the civil society and the state with the public interest at the larger goal. And then integrity, uprightness, and the rules of the conduct are the order of the day. So these are what you need to do to ensure that ethics in administration is incorporated or practiced. Now governance is based on certain guidance principle, which always it's a basic, like it's a rule that for this is what governance is actually catering to. What are those principles? One is serving to the general public, because the public larger interest is the important goal, and putting your selfish aims and goals low and the goals of the public interest as the higher goals. Beyond discrimination, neutral, be neutral, non-partisanship, and then not to be evil or corrupt behind your administrative decisions, and the motive of the largest interest. So this is a redundant thing, but we have to just jot it down in a pointer format so that you can use it in your answer right away. And then the philosophical basis, like governance, this portion, where does it has roots? The roots of these governance comes from which philosophical basis? One is that Kautilya has already said that happiness of the subjects lies in the happiness and the welfare of the people. Then Gandhiji's concept of Swaraj is also on the same lines. Lord Krishna in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says that you raise yourself by yourself. Do not let yourself down. You're your own friend and you're your own enemy. So rising up to the excellence is through catering to the public. That is what he says through this quotation. And then a proper outlook, like irrigation, education, health, and there is widespread corruption in many of the welfare activities. So you need to have an outlook of how these crores of rupees are being spent. So these form the basic philosophical basis of the governance for the Indian system. Then the functions of governance, there are two forms. One is self-preservation, where from external and internal aggression, like the internal disturbances which happen, you have to raise an army and protect the people, enforcement agencies to curb the corruption and all the phenomena. And the next form of government is the supervision and resolution of the conflicts by strengthening the democratic processes. How are you strengthening it? Civil society movements. You're giving so much of powers to them also to come up and voice out. And then you have this Lok Adalats and the NALSA also acts coming up to for the conflict resolution mechanisms. So all in all, this is for the first session in the Unit 7 chapter on probity in governance, which deals with concept of public service and then philosophical basis of governance and probity. So the next session would be of information sharing and transparency in government. So with the right to information, it has a lot of clauses, so it kind of tends to be a lengthy as well. So this is here we end this session here itself. A quick recap of what is it. The probity, we have seen the basic difference between integrity and probity. We have seen the public service values as what Bhagavad Gita also says, that whenever you are into the administration, you are no more ordinary. You have to always depend your happiness based on your welfare subjects. Why do we need probity? Then obligations of a civil servant and what needs to be done to attain this probity through four principles of probity. And there are some obstacles to the ethical accountability, and today's times are also these obstacles are very relevant. And what do we need to do to ensure this ethics and administration is practiced well with the governance judged based on guiding principles. So this is philosophical basis based on Kautilya, Gandhiji and Lord Krishna, and you can add many other aspects, whichever reformers or administrators or any kind of philosophical thinkers you come across who say anything about the administrative aspects can be jotted down or added to this portion. So that forms the first part of the session regarding the probity in governance. We'll surely meet soon on the information sharing and transparency in government with Right to Information Act discussion. So thank you. Keep enjoying the series. Meet you soon. Jai Hind.